And welcome back, students. We're in the home stretch now. We're going to try and add some of that functionality that we've been trying to capture. And so the big thing here with our web pages is that right now our links work and everything like that, but our menus are kind of stacked. So there's no way to kind of collapse this in. And remember, right now it's not the most beautiful looking thing. We're not focusing on adjusting these margins for everything and the padding and stuff like that. That's something you could always do on your own. But for the purposes of our exercise, this looks great. But as I mentioned before, one of the big things is that, like, for example, on mobile, these are always going to be displayed. If you look on a lot of mobile sites, and I have this example pulled up here in W3 Schools, is you'll have something like this, where you'll click this logo icon here, and it'll bring down the web pages. So what we want to do is something like this, especially for our mobile page, because you want it to be user-friendly. Now, because we also have that drop-down feature of our navigation for desktop, we could bring that in there as well. But we're going to try and do it like this. Of course, there's also the horizontal view. We could do that as well, but we're trying to keep everything consistently based upon our design, because remember, nav comes down like this. So I'm going to close that. All right, here is the kind of the steps that they give for making those web pages. And, you know, the internet, the big takeaway here is going to be your friend for looking at a lot of those JavaScript or jQuery examples to add and enrich your web pages. So if you start building out your own responsive web pages, go look online. There's a ton of examples. There's tons of resources available. This is just one web page that we kind of built together for you to kind of go in and clean things up. So in here, we're going to get started. So you see that they say, hey, add this style sheet in here. All right, and with this style sheet, it just adds the hamburger icon, which a hamburger icon is going to be this 3-bar thing. So we're going to simply just copy that line of code there. All right, and what we're going to do is in our, if we get to Dreamweaver, code, on each of our web pages, we're going to link in that CSS snippet. So I'm just going to copy that. Go to the About page, paste that one in. That's still in CSS. Let's make sure you're on the HTML side. And save. Let's do a save all. Okay. So now that it's in. Now, if you look at the thing they say is, next, build out this navigation, which we largely already have. So let's look at our HTML and compare it to what they have. So we have, of course, our nav, and then we have our links. Okay. So in here they have a class called TopNav. All right. And then, of course, they have the link. Then there's this div called My Links. So the biggest thing that we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to add a subdivision inside of our nav to really kind of control the individual elements. Because if you look at this one, there's always pretty much the home page is up. So it's always going to be there because that's like where your logo is, that's where your banner is, whatever. So like home will always be present. All right. So what we're going to do, or it might even just be text, for example, that it could just be here, for example, you can see that it's just a dummy link. So it could just say web page navigation. And then inside that could be the individual web pages themselves. So how you structure that, it's up to you. But ultimately, if you look at a web page in mobile, how does it look? Well, let's take a look at like Math&Comps, for example. I'm going to pull that out. And you can see that I have my home page here. That's the link that's active when it's more in that more mobile view. So we're going to actually just kind of keep our index page there, and we're actually going to keep nav, and what we're going to do is build out this ID called My Links. All right, so these are the links that are going to be hidden default, so I'm just going to copy that div ID. I'm going to go right after my home page here in each of my web pages and add that div ID and then close it. Okay, and then we're going to indent in those two sublinks there just so I can kind of keep track of that. Go to my About page, do the exact same thing. Paste that div in. Close the div. Go to the index. do the same thing. Nope, that helps that we spell div correctly. Okay, and let's do a save all. So now we've created that div called my links. All right, we've closed it. Now you can see that there's this JavaScript reference right here. All right, so this is what actually will call the piece of JavaScript. Now we of course could create a separate JavaScript class, but if you look at the example that they've given, their JavaScript is actually embedded right inside the web page. And that's perfectly fine. In fact, sometimes you'll run into issues if your JavaScript is in a separate page because it can't reference correctly and stuff like that. So we're going to kind of try and keep everything the same here for our example. So I'm going to, again, copy this right here. Okay, just copy that. I'm going to go to the right. If you notice, this is right after, but it's not outside of the class. So right before my nav tag there, paste that in and just tab it over so it's looking nicer. Okay. Copy that. We're going to go to the About page again. Paste. Go to Careers. Paste. And let's go ahead and save that. Boom. All right. So now we've got a lot of heavy lifting already done. Now, in the CSS page, all right, this is where they're going to have us stylize the navigation menu. All right, I'm going to actually come back to that in a second here because we've already built out our nav in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to hold off on styling the CSS. I'm going to jump down to the JavaScript part. All right, because we're working inside the HTML side anyway, so we might as well do this. So I'm just going to go copy this whole thing here. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go back to my HTML side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that into my document. Now, if you look at the example that they give, you can see with theirs, the script is inside the body, but not inside any divs. So here's my div for the wrapper. I'm going to hit enter, paste, and it gave me, it doesn't look like it looks quite right because we're missing one thing, script. So you have to put your script tag in there, enter, paste, boom, there it is. There's my function. Let's tab that over. And then I just copy that to each of my other web pages. Make sure you grab those script tags, paste, and go to the index. Paste. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save all. And you can see already that if I refresh, it's starting to look better. See, there's my hamburger icon, for example. All right, but it doesn't quite work the way we want it to yet because we have to do the CSS pieces for it to properly pull in those IDs. So if you look at the JavaScript here, the way it's going to work, it's going to look to see if the element either has the block ID or the none property. So pretty much it either says it to be visible or not visible. All right, and so we're going to go back here now. Okay, so let's go to our CSS. Okay, and you can see here's our nav. Okay, now the one thing, I want the right code here. All right, so top nav is for our purposes our nav. All right, so nav is top nav. The thing to keep in mind here. All right, overflow hidden. We don't have that property. We have it as auto right now. All right, we can of course change that later, but let's go ahead and do it now. So hidden, and what that does, you can see instead of displaying out each of those elements one after another, it collapses them. All right, so we change that to hidden. All right, the background color, I'm not worried about that. Position relative. Position is fixed. So we're going to have to change that now to relative. Okay, and again, kind of cleans it up a little bit. All right, now this is the piece where we're going to start adding stuff. So right here we have nav. So this is not top nav. I'm going to just change this to nav here. So nav, my links, display set to none. Okay, So by default, in ours, what this is saying is set that myLink property to none. Then, of course, we have our A reference tag. Of course, we already have one. The display is block. Hey, we got that already. We're doing good. All right, color, don't care about padding, text decoration, font size. That's all just manipulating the actual values of the text and stuff. Okay, this is the hamburger icon now. So this is something new we have to add in here. So I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to avoid the word top there. So I'll copy that. And I'm going to put it right after this. Paste. Okay. So this is calling for the icon. All right. The background is black. Ooh, this makes it really stand out there. So we can change that, of course, to make something like blue, for example. There it is. All right. We could even make it the same color as like the home page there, for example, we want. Display is block, so it's put right in line there. The position is absolute, and this is a right and top alignment here. If I don't have this top alignment in here, you can see it doesn't show up. So very important, just leave those sitting there as is. Okay. Then of course this is just simply a coloring issue here with these things. So you ready to give it a whirl? Let's see if this works. So hit the old refresh button, and if I click that, oh look, that looks beautiful. Look at that functionality. Boom. Boom. Our web page is awesome now. So if I full screen this thing, of course you can see my nav is collapsed. I can click this icon. Boom, it comes right down. Now I could change this icon to be something else. Right now we're just using that CSS external reference to make it into a hamburger icon, but we could make it our own. Like if we want to, we could make it the thumbs up logo. Put that right here. Move this around. That is the power of web design. So before we kind of get into any of that, though, there is one last thing that we want to look at here. All right, and that is the issue of. You'll notice that when I click this, my web page is resized. All right, so I kind of want my elements to kind of always have the same size. Now, I believe that is controlled by the wrapper. All right. So if we say the wrapper has a height of, let's say, 100%, it doesn't do anything. If I say it has a height of, now let's say, 100. Oh, it didn't save it. Okay. Didn't really do much there either. But if I say, let's say 100 pixels, let's make 1,000. There we go. So 1,000 pixels, it's going to be always 1,000 pixels, which is fine until you get something that's bigger. And of course, now you see that this didn't follow that. So that is something that you'd have to kind of try to figure out. And that's actually where I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave that as the final kind of piece of the puzzle to solve, if you will, for this responsive web page. So we have pretty much everything working. We have our functionality, we have our responsiveness, we've built in different accessibility, usability pieces as we've kind of gone along. The thing I'm going to leave you with as kind of your last bit for the progress check here, when you turn everything in, is see if you can figure out a way to bring your wrapper to fill 100% of the web page in terms of height and width. And when you do that, you're also going to have to figure out a way to keep this footer anchored to always to the bottom. All right. Now, give you a hint. All right, you have position relative here. So there are, of course, other positions that you can use. All right. So for example, like position sticky here. All right. Or if you look at absolute, for example, if I do position absolute, you remember we get this kind of weird thing going on. All right. It's not necessarily what we want. So little things like that you're going to have to kind of brainstorm, like, well, how do I handle this? How do I handle that? If you put a static value for height in, does it affect it on, of course, every web page? Yes, it does. So if you do, like, for example, a height value where it's an EM, so if we say like 100 EM, again, got that scrolling web page bar. If you do a max height, though, we're kind of back to where we started. All right, so little things like that to kind of keep in mind of how you want to solve it. But that will be the one thing I'm going to leave with you as kind of your challenge. And with that being said, folks, that kind of wraps up our responsive design project that we've been working with this kind of mock company. Obviously, if you want to kind of go above and beyond, you can also work on trimming up and fixing some of the margin and spacing issues that we might have here. For example, like when we redid our navigation, all of a sudden now I have this big gap here. Maybe I want to close it up. Maybe if you want to challenge yourself further, you can figure out how to stack this logo on top of here. All those are perfectly viable things that you can do in the span of the activity. All right, and with that being said, folks, I will see you next time.